have 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the May 4th, 2026 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. I do at this time recognize we have a quorum. At this time, Commissioner Thomas, will you lead us in our invocation?
Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, we come to you today thanking you for being with us, and thank you for guiding us and watching over us and taking care of us today, God. Lord, I want to ask you to be with all the sick and the suffering, God. Be with our young people across this county. The last couple of weeks have been tough on our young kids, and we've lost a couple. God, we ask you just to be with their families, be with all the friends. God, just keep them safe. We ask you just to be with all our first responders, our fire, EMS, our police, our sheriff, anyone who answers the call in time of crisis, God. We ask you just to be with them and guide them. Give them the courage and the knowledge to do what's called upon them. God, we thank you for giving your Son to die on the cross so we may have eternal life. And we ask you just to watch over us the next couple of days and be with this county, God, and just help us to grow stronger in you. And we ask you to forgive us all our sins. In your heavenly name I do pray. Amen.
Commissioner Royce, will you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the board, is there any adjustments to the agenda as presented? Haven't heard none. Do I have a
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to add two things to the agenda. I'd like for us to have a discussion on a possible hiring freeze until the 2026-27 budget can be finalized, and then a discussion on tax relief programs that are currently available for taxpayers 65 years old and older.
The chair will not recognize that motion because the chair was not made aware of any requests beforehand this meeting. If there is a request for an adjustment, this board needs to know that there would be some type of adjustment. I would respectfully request you hold off that motion to our next regular meeting so that staff would be on hand and be prepared.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Members of the board, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The agenda's been approved. Item number 5, AOS Awareness Month Proclamation. Whereas AOS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, is a progressive and fatal illness that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, leading to the loss of muscle control, independence, and ultimately life. And whereas more than 5,000 individuals in the United States are diagnosed with AOS each year, and approximately 20,000 Americans are living with the disease at any given time. And whereas AOS affects individuals and families across North Carolina, including residents of Person County who face the emotional, physical, and financial challenges brought on by this devastating illness. And whereas Person County recognizes the vital work of organizations such as AOS Association North Carolina Chapter, with regional healthcare providers who support research, provide patient services, and advocate for improved treatment options for those affected by AOS. And whereas the Person County community, including local caregivers, advocacy groups, and volunteers, continues to demonstrate compassion and commitment in supporting neighbors living with AOS and their families. And whereas increased public awareness of AOS, its symptoms, its impact, and the urgent need for research can lead to earlier diagnosis, improved access to services, and greater support for an advancement that offers hope for effective treatments and ultimately a cure. And whereas the Person County Board of Commissioners is committed to promoting awareness and education throughout the county and to honor the strength and resilience of those who face AOS every day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Person County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaim May 2026 as AOS Awareness Month in Person County and encourages all residents, organizations, and community partners to join in raising awareness, supporting research efforts, and stand in solidarity with individuals and families affected by AS. Do I have a motion of board to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Adopted this 4th day of May, 2026. Signed, Kyle Pereira, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. Okay, thank you. All right, item 5B, Small Business Week Proclamation. Brian Eatman.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. Small Business Week 2026. Whereas the Person County Board of Commissioners recognizes that small businesses are the backbone of our local economy, contributing significantly to the prosperity, identity, and quality of life of our communities. And whereas small businesses in Roxborough and across Person County create jobs, spur innovation, strengthen our tax base, and support the economic resilience and long-term stability of the region. And whereas the economic impact of small businesses in Person County is substantial, with locally owned enterprises representing the majority of employers in the county, generating essential employment opportunities, recirculating dollars within the local economy, and strengthening key sectors such as agriculture, retail, services, and tourism. There were 593 small businesses in Person County in 2022, according to the latest figures from the U.S. Census Bureau, accounting for more than 83% of the county's businesses, employing 4,417 people, which is 53.6% of our county's private sector workforce. And whereas Person County small businesses contribute to the character and high quality of life of our community, assisting in the attraction of new businesses and investment. Whereas Person County public agencies, educational institutions, and private sector organizations collaborate to help small businesses grow and create jobs by providing workforce training, business mentoring, financial assistance, research, technical assistance, support services, and more. And whereas Person County provides many services in collaboration with local, regional, and state partners to small businesses through Person County Economic Development, Uptown Roxborough Group, Piedmont Community College Small Business Center, Cartar Regional Council of Governments, Small Business and Technology Development Center, and the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. And whereas during National Small Business Week, the U.S. Small Business Administration highlights the impact small business owners and entrepreneurs have on our nation's economy and global competitiveness. And whereas when we support Person County small businesses, jobs are created, local communities thrive, and our economy grows.
Now, be it resolved that the Person County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of May 3rd through 9th, 2026 as Small Business Week in Person County and encourages all residents to support local small businesses in Roxborough and throughout Person County, acknowledging their essential role in shaping our community's present and future. Members of the board, do I have a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Adopted this 4th day of May 2026, signed Kyle Pereira, Chairman, Person County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 5C, Civics Academy graduation, Kim Strickland.
It is once again my honor and privilege to stand before you and recognize and celebrate and congratulate 16 members of the Person County community that have spent the last 10 weeks together. And we have learned, and we have questioned, and we have talked, and we have visited many locations. Just a sampling of some of the pictures from the last 10 weeks. So it is my privilege to be able to stand before you and recognize this group of people. We did a lot. We had a lot of fun. And sometimes we might be a little tired. But it's also good to see several members of previous sessions that are here with us tonight. So they have continued their commitment, and I look forward to having the same thing come from this particular class as well. So as I call their names, I ask if you will come forward, and we will find a way to stay up here so that everybody can see you. We will get a little crowded, but we will find our way to stay. So I will start with Velvet Clayton. Donald Compton. Oh, valedictorian. No, it was not. That's rich. Nicole Davis. Ridge Davis. Kay Duncan. Oh, no, you. Kim Fashy. Kathy Greenwald. Larry Greenwald. Sep Tegelston. Latasha Lee. Rebecca Knopf. Brittany Pettiford. I know. We're going to take that through. Shauna Phelps. You'll fit. It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Chip Stone. Joanna Thompson was also in the class, but she could not be here tonight. She did want to express her sadness for not being here, but she and her sons are at the memorial for one of their classmates. And then Kevin Yark. So, thank you. I appreciate you. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that is our class, the spring semester. And since you need seats, I will let them exit the room.
Well,
So just give us a few minutes to exit.
We're going to probably make a few comments real quick.
Okay, yes,
And
sir.
just want to
Yes, sir.
congratulate each of you for your commitment to this program. I know it took time out of your lives, and I hope you took something away from it, and appreciate your involvement with our county and our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chairman Bridge, can I say something, sir?
Yes, sir.
Y'all should laud Kim for the effort that she put into this.
We're getting to that. Yes, we're getting to that. Yes,
And anyone who hasn't taken it should take it.
yes.
That too, that part right there.
But Kim, again, I believe this is the third
Yes, sir.
class, so
Yes, sir.
thank you for your tireless dedication in making this program a success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Members of the board, any further comments?
I would like to say I had the privilege of speaking to this group, and they had a lot of questions. But but it was a lot of fun. I ended up staying longer than expected because of the engagement. And one thing I took from that is we all kind of like agreed that it doesn't matter which political affiliation you're a part of, just knowing that you have leaders in the community that care about Person County itself, not so much being polarized, but asking those questions. And I appreciate it, and it's good to like learn from the people who put you up here, and even the interest that they had in knowing like how does government work, how does the different departments work. So I appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun with you all. But yeah, you all put me in a hot seat, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. But thank you again for the time and commitment you put into this academy, this third class. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like seeing the broad range in the age group. I guess this is a mother-son
Yes.
group, so that's nice to see that everybody's interested and invested across the board.
Actually, it was him who brought me.
Okay.
So it's good to see our young people be interested in government too.
Yes.
Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 6, informal comments. At this time, the Board of Commissioners have set aside a 10-minute segment for open individual comments. I would remind the speakers to engage the county commissioners only, address the board as a whole, not individual commissioners. And we will have a timer. If, Madam Clerk, how many speakers do we have signed up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we have 3 individuals.
We have 3 individuals. Since it's a 10-minute period, I believe a 3.5-minute period would be appropriate. Is that okay with the board? All right. Can you have IT set the timer for 3.5 minutes, please?
Yes, sir. If IT will go ahead and set the timer for 3.5 minutes. Our first speaker is Julie Nye.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Julie Nye. I live at 407 River Trace Drive in southeastern Person County. I have many concerns and questions about the Microsoft data center. I'm especially concerned that so much to date has happened in secret. Person County residents have a right to know what's happening and how they will be affected by a project like this. We shared a list of questions with the commissioners several months ago, I think, and haven't received any answers. I'm concerned about how much electricity the data center will require and how the cost of adding that additional capacity, Duke Energy's second gas plant at Hyco Lake, will be borne by residential customers. I'm concerned about how much water the data center will require, running 24/7, 365 in a county currently in a drought, and with the Mariah Energy Center using city water to fill up its enormous storage tank for testing as we speak. I'm concerned about how the water consumed will be released safely in an area where some residents' wells have already been polluted with coal ash. I'm concerned about the noise that data centers emit, not only the immediate annoyance of 50 to 100 decibels running continuously, but noise pollution has well demonstrated long-term effects as well, stress, insomnia, and that's not just the impact on humans. Pets, livestock, and wildlife are also affected by noise pollution and light pollution. I'm concerned about the air pollution from the standby power generators that data centers require. Diesel-powered generators are a significant source of air pollution, especially in northern Person County, whose residents already bear the brunt of the air pollution from the power plants at Hyco Lake. I'm also concerned about tax incentives that may have been given to Microsoft, which have not been disclosed. Has the facility been exempted from paying sales and use tax on building materials and equipment? What property tax abatements have been granted, and over how many years? How will that undermine funding for our public schools and health and human services in Person County? We expect transparency about the terms of the agreement, construction plans, operating capacity, and schedules, and we expect county and city residents to be included in negotiating a community benefits agreement. I urge you to consider a moratorium on any further data centers so the process can be more transparent with hopefully better outcomes the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have that one? Oh, you read it off your phone, sorry.
Next speaker we have is Hope Taylor.
Good evening. I'm Hope Taylor, statewide Executive Director of Clean Water for North Carolina. It's been a few years since I was here to talk with you all about testing of wells for coal ash contaminants. But today I'm here because I've been asked by hundreds of residents of Person County to speak on their behalf and present to you a letter which Ms. Nye referred to, you've received before with a series of questions, but now it's got hundreds more signatures on it of residents in Person County, and they would like, and it's also addressed to the county attorney and also to several Microsoft officials. Our understanding is that you've been released from a non-disclosure agreement by Microsoft, and so it's time the public really needs to hear the answers to these questions. I'm just going to read the first introductory paragraphs. I'm not going to read the questions. We, the undersigned residents of Person County, are writing to express our concerns about Microsoft's October 2024 purchase of the 1,385-acre mega park in Person County. County officials stated they negotiated with Microsoft for 18 months beforehand. However, during that time, residents have not been informed about specific plans for that land. Yet, a representative of the American Petroleum Institute in a March 2025 presentation to state lawmakers labels the mega park as a data center. On February 24th, 2026, Microsoft and Person County announced the site would indeed be a data center. We do deserve a say over decisions that will impact our lives. We do deserve transparency. And below is that list of questions we referred to for Microsoft and Person County's Board of Commissioners. And the response to these questions is critical for farmers, school children, elders, businesses, and homeowners in Person County. Your prompt replies will open a dialogue that must continue as long as Microsoft may operate in our community. This is an opportunity for Microsoft to demonstrate what kind of neighbor they will be to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who should I give this copy to? This includes
To the
all
ca-
the
to the
contact information for all the signers.
Next speaker we have is Ronnie Murray.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see you folks. This will be the first time I've attended a meeting like this, so I don't have a speech written. I don't have a pre-rehearsed message, but I will speak from my heart, and it's possible that I'll be speaking on behalf of some of these other folks that aren't going to speak up for themselves. But just a little background as to what brought me here. I did 9 years of public utilities with Raleigh, which is a very large territory. I did water, wastewater, and cross connection. I've done 3 years working in this area as a plumber, and I'm currently working for the North Carolina Rural Water Association. I've been there for like 2.5 years. So I do have a background in working with water and wastewater. So when it comes to the data centers, most of these people, like myself, probably have heard where many counties are refusing to let them build because of the negative effects that have been seen where they have been built. And these concerns, it seems like they're very legitimate when you speak about things like the effect of how much water will be used, how much electricity will be used, the possibilities of the noise and sound pollution and the effects it will have on the community. And also, I've seen where data centers can create so much energy, so much heat, that there is a recorded instance where a data center created a 6-mile circle, where within that circle, the actual air temperature has been raised, say 5 to 6 degrees. So that's going to affect wildlife and plant life and human life within that circle. And where this data center is being built, that puts my house within that circle. So if there are people that are making decisions concerning the data center that possibly live in Georgia, Florida, Colorado, Chicago, something like that, it's possible that they can make these decisions with a clear conscience because they don't live here. It doesn't affect them. But I've got friends and neighbors that live closer to this proposed data center than I do. And they raise bees on their property, they raise livestock, and these are legitimate concerns for the people who live in this community and have businesses and plan to live here for possibly the rest of their life with their children and grandchildren. And hopefully you folks can associate with that. So I just came to hopefully get some answers settled from someone from Microsoft or from you folks who have been making decisions that will affect us in our future. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Sorry, can you state your address?
I'm sorry?
Can you state your address?
Oh, my address.
Yes.
It's 221 McGee's Mill Road.
221, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
All right, item number 7, discussion adjustment of the approved consent agenda. Any adjustments?
Yes, I would like to remove item C for discussion.
All right, we have a motion to pull item C and for discussion. All in favor of said motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The item C has been pulled. And do I have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved. We will now go into in discussion of item C before we move into item 8A.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the EDC bylaws on Article 5, Section 4, there's just one paragraph there, and it reads, "The director shall be the chief staff officer of the commission. The director shall be an ex officio member of all functional and standing committees. The director's scope of work shall be as established by the county." And that has led to some confusion in the past about what the county means. And so I would like to add, make that a comma and say, "and shall incorporate the tasks adopted by the commission annually in their action plan." And that allows the EDC to contribute in a prescriptive way, and hopefully avoid confusion.
Any discussion on the motion?
No, Commissioner Wilburn, if you could just read it with the,
Okay.
what you're
Yes.
proposing.
It would say, "The director shall be the chief staff officer of the commission. The director shall be an ex officio member of all functional and standing committees. The director's scope of work shall be as established by the county and shall incorporate the tasks adopted by the commission annually in their action plan."
All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve with the presented changes. Any further discussion? Having hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved. Item 8A, Person County Schools Fiscal Year 2027 Budget Requests. Dr. Rodney Peterson.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Chairman, Madam Chairman, Commission, Madam Manager. I have with me tonight Ms. Frida Tillman, our board chair, Ms. Bratcher, and Ms. Tillett, board members. And I also have with me Julie Maston, who is our Chief Finance Officer. So if you don't like my answers, you can ask them all the questions that you may have. What I would like to do, if it's okay with the commission, is just go through what the packet that you have. I don't necessarily think we need to go through the PowerPoint. We can start with the spreadsheet. That way we can talk to you about what our board is requesting by item. In terms of curriculum and instruction, we are reducing that line item from last year along with the district testing services. If you look at the district student information, we're holding serve on that particular line item for this coming year. The biggest ask outside of personnel that comes with this budget is student support services. And I will say to you, I feel the understanding that you have as it relates to having to bear more of a burden of our school budget versus the state. We have roughly 20% of our students that are we have 20% of our students that are exceptional children that we serve. It's a federal requirement by law that we serve those students. We only get funding from the state for 13.75 of those students. So this increase is the direct result of the difference between the 13% and the 20% that we're required to serve. Also, in this particular line item, we do now have a group home inside of Person County inside of Person County, and the school system is required by law to serve those students. So they come to us, to our school system. And that is, we're experiencing about $230,000 increase in our budget just to serve those students alone. If you look at our auxiliary services, this is basically our operations department. There is an increase in that area. There's a $43,000 increase in our custodial services contract. We do private services because it saves our district about $300,000 a year to do private versus doing hiring and paying benefits for our employees, for those employees. There is an increase in the general maintenance contract, which is those, basically we do a private contract for them to come out and service certain things that our folks are not certified to do. There was a $25,000 increase in that. We did not hire a water quality person. We have hired a contract firm to do that because of all the reporting and the testing that's required and the responsibility that comes with that. We felt like that we have a better insurance if we have a private company to do it that is not tied to the school system, and that contract is the $30,000 extra a year. And then we've added additional fuel costs for what we anticipate is an extended period of having high gas prices. Transportation services, that's our buses, we've helped serve in that line item along with our safety and technology. We do have a slight increase in our contracted services for human resources that do our background checks, fingerprinting, all that's required, that just like you guys in your HR department does. That has increased within the coming year, so that's noted here. If you look at the marketing, public information, that has stayed the same, and the district operations has increased slightly. We're anticipating about a $72,000 increase in our utilities for next year, and another $23,000 increase in our property liability and workers' comp insurance, and that designates the reason why there's an increase there. The biggest that we have is personnel, and we're anticipating the state for our local folks to have roughly a 3% increase. We also had an increase in Social Security, retirement, and health insurance, and so that is the reason why you see the increase in that personnel. We do have in here salary study for our classified staff. We're having a lot of turnover there, so we are asking for funding for that, but we did reduce the substitutes contract in order to help offset some of that cost with that particular group. In all, you'll see down there our budget increase. Please note that whatever we ask, 23% of that ask goes to charter school. We pay charter schools not only here in our district, but all across the great state of North Carolina. So that's the reason why you see that additional $3.6 million for charter schools with the total ask of 15.8. If there's any questions about current expense, I'll be more than happy to entertain those at this time.
Members of the board, any questions for the school superintendent?
Could you tell me more about the group home? a little bit more about?
It's our understanding that I think the Department of Health and Human Services approved licensures for group homes. And there is one that's now located in Person County. That's usually typically for school-age youth that has been either taken from their home or they've come from youth detention. They usually carry a lot of mental health and one-on-one support. And we have designated behavior one-on-ones with these students coming inside of our school. We do have, I believe it's one student that we do serve remotely, but there is an additional cost for that.
Any further questions?
And then for the capital project request, these are items that are under 50,000. All of these are just general maintenances that we're asking for you to approve for this coming year. And then the other ask is for the technology capital that we have here. And that's to provide devices for our students. Again, I think this is another unfunded mandate that comes from the state. We're required to do all testing online, and it requires a certain age with a certain set of memory and a certain set of requirements. And it's important because we use Chromebooks that they have to be refreshed every certain amount of time because they don't meet the specs and it don't meet the speed needs and the security that's required for state testing. So that's the reason that's on there as well. And I'll entertain questions on that or any other things that you may have as it relates to school budget.
Questions?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, item 9B, Piedmont Community College fiscal year 2027 budget request, Dr. Reggie Browning.
Good evening, Commissioners. I stand before you today to bring greetings from Piedmont Community College. I stand before you on behalf of our president, Dr. Kevin Lee. Unfortunately, at PCC, we have not learned how to be in two places at once yet, so he had to be at a student event for a pinning ceremony that he was over tonight. But I do stand before you to talk about our budget for fiscal year 27. Tonight, I will talk about enrollments and our key priorities for the next upcoming year. Of course, our overview and connection, and of course, our budget request. So we do have a slide presentation. So first off, I want to talk about our service area, the Person County service area, and this information is from My Future NC. And so I want to point out that we are intentionally targeting adult learners now. We, of course, have our dual enrollment programs. We have all different types of students on campus, but we are definitely targeting adult learners. And so I wanted to point out from this slide several things. For Person County residents ages 25 to 44, for the year 2024, it was about 8,553 of those. 39.6% have a degree or credential, but that leaves about 60% that do not. And so these are the students that PCC are targeting. I want to also point out that the educational attainment trend between 2019 and 2023 increased, but it was trending upward. But in 2024, this is the first time that we saw a significant decline to 39.6%. So this is also why we are targeting adult learners. We're targeting the 31.7% of this group, this demographic group, that have a high school diploma but do not have a college diploma or a credential. So as far as our enrollment, we are trending up. We are doing a great job with enrollment at PCC. PCC is still capturing record enrollment with major growth. For the period of spring 2024 to spring 2025, we beat the state system-wide total FTE increase. For curriculum, we beat that. The state increase was 5%. PCC had an increase of 14%. As far as workforce CE, The state had an increase of 2%. We beat them with a state increase of 16%. So I also want to highlight some of our major programs that help us beat the state by so much. It was general education, our mechatronics engineering technology program, and also cosmetology. New programs that I want to highlight that's coming up next year. We have a new 911 telecommunications program, which is a combination program with Richmond Community College. And so it's 1 year PCC, 1 year at Richmond Community College, and you'll get that degree. Also, we have Health Science Allied Health program that's coming online as well. So as far as our budget request for the fiscal year 2027, is we requested a little bit over 1.4 million for operations, and this was for salaries of our facility services and support staff, and this aligns with the state increase that we're expecting of 2.5%. This also includes medical insurance premiums, an increase in waste removal and utilities. Utilities, we're estimating about 10% is what we've been told for increase in that. Equipment repair and service contracts. I secondly want to talk about our South Campus initiative. So we all know that we have a facility off of 501, and right now we have transitioned over several programs, including HVAC, electrical, plumbing, CDL. We are in works to break ground this year on an exterior project that's about $287,000, and to finally be moving welding over, which is one of our major programs, which will be about 4.8 million. All those funds are funded. So we still are fundraising with grant efforts in process, and we thank you guys for helping us do South Campus and helping us keep that going with over there as well, utilities, ground security, IT, and those things. Lastly, I want to talk about our request for capital requests for 26-27. We asked for $757,000 roughly, and this was to include HVAC water pipe installation project, which is about $268,000 that we asked for. We asked for door lock and security upgrade of $150,000. We also asked for IT projects, which include network and switches, $186,000, and elevator modernization of $153,000. So with that, a total of $757,000. And so with that, that's our request for fiscal year 2027. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Browning?
Are those growth numbers, is that for Person and Castle?
That is for Person and Castle.
Okay. And, but all your requests are?
Just for Person. Yes, ma'am.
Having here on, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, item 9C, fiscal year 27 budget preview, county manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. I do not have a lot of new information from the last update that I provided 2 weeks ago, so I don't have any slides to show you. I will share that as far as continuing to work through the manager's recommended budget, it is still balanced at the current 63-cent tax rate. I did work with Dr. Peterson to slightly increase what's recommended in the school system's current operating expense line item, so it funds about half of what they had requested in terms of the increase. So the increase is closer to 5% now rather than the 3% that I shared with you a couple of weeks ago. And with that, we cut back slightly on their technology requests, and I made some other adjustments within the budget to shift some funding to the school system. HR is finishing up with the public safety salary study. That is currently not included in the manager's recommended budget. We don't have the results of that yet, so we still will be working at the staff level on figuring out a recommendation around that for the next fiscal year. And I do want to remind the board that we'll need to have some more discussion around the CIP with the goal of adopting that as soon as the board is comfortable in doing so. That will inform ultimately the budget adoption. The next step in the process is for me to present the manager's recommended budget on May 18th, and so that's 2 weeks from today. The public hearing on the budget is scheduled for June 1st. please be sure to reserve June 2nd through June 12th for budget work sessions, so we can set that calendar. I anticipate that we will have a couple of work sessions. If you have any known conflicts, please go ahead and send those to me so we can work on identifying the specific dates for the work sessions. The budget is scheduled for adoption on June 15th, and I would be happy to receive any comments that you have tonight related to what you've heard so far as how I have worked towards structuring the manager's recommended budget. And if you have any questions that I could answer tonight or get back to you with more information as we continue with this process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
you're welcome.
Chairman's report, I will report that this week I will be meeting with the chair and vice chair of the Person County School Board over their overfunded. Also will be making a trip to Raleigh to advocate for funding for additional school funding for both the community college and our local school system, specifically around new capital improvement. So that is my report, County Manager.
Okay, there are a couple of things. One, I would like to introduce the board as well as the public to our new social services director who started today. Adonica Hampton is here with us this evening. Welcome, Adonica.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as your next social services director. I am grateful, and I've had such a warm welcome today. It's my first day, and thank you.
Thank you.
And I would also like to share with everyone that Microsoft has started sharing some information on their website. There's not a whole lot out there yet. We do have printed copies of what's on the website, and we'll be glad to share that with anyone who's here. And tomorrow morning, Kim does plan on, our public information officer plans on sending out an update to our social media with a link to Microsoft's website. They don't have a lot of information on here yet, but I have talked with them. They do plan on continuing to update this site and sharing more information with the public as they get moved forward further along with their design processes. So they still have not shared specifics with the county regarding their design for the data center project. One statement that is made on this website is that our new data centers in Person County are expected to reduce water use by relying on air-cooled chiller systems rather than traditional water-intensive cooling methods. So I think they'll continue to add more information as those specifics evolve. The other thing that I'll also share, because I know this is a common question that we hear, is that the county did not provide tax incentives to Microsoft. So they have, in other areas where they've negotiated incentives, they have made a public statement that they are no longer going to accept those incentives. But in this case, Person County did not offer any tax incentives to Microsoft. So that answers another one of those questions from the county standpoint. That is information that we do have. But a lot of the questions, we do not have those answers yet. We continue to work with Microsoft in their planning processes, and this website will be a resource for the public to learn more as the plans evolve. So we will share that.
Vice Chair Wilburn.
Thank you, and I will apologize in advance. I do have a rather lengthy report this evening. I feel like there's a lot of information that commissioners sometimes want to share, and this is really the best platform, I think. The EDC met for its monthly meeting, and we welcomed 2 new members that were appointed by this board. We had officer election for the position of chairman, which was held in light of the former chair's resignation from the board. I was nominated and unanimously elected to be the chair, and I'm thankful for that opportunity. We adopted an action plan, which is a basic framework to guide focus and activity, but it is a living document that we can modify as needed. We're continuing the work that was identified in the Joint Leadership Summit, which was the joint meeting between elected bodies last fall. And as we continue to support addressing the housing needs, we're also steering our focus more towards product development for the immediate future, which was the second highest need identified at the Leadership Summit. On April 29th, members of Governor Stein's cabinet convened a rural listening session for our region, which I attended on behalf of Person County. It was held at Vance Granville Community College, and the rural issues we discussed were about aging infrastructure with our towns and municipalities, ongoing workforce development needs, and how housing and childcare shortages impact the workforce. We talked about the importance of our rural healthcare systems and specifically hospitals, and that tied into needs with our jails and inmate care. As an aside, Sheriff Brame of Vance County was there. He cited 20 vacancies in their detention center and 15 law enforcement vacancies in addition to that. I was at an event in Durham County last year about the proposed rail trail project and heard the Durham County Sheriff say that they were only staffed at a level of about 75% at that time. So we just heard in our last meeting that our Sheriff's Office currently only has 3 vacancies in the detention center and 1 for law enforcement. So that's something that I want us all to remember in our upcoming tax discussion. On April 30th, I joined a group to tour the Mariah Energy Center. It was fascinating to see all the progress that's been made on that project. The investment amount was cited as more than $500 million total. The tax revenue that the county has received thus far has been more than $500,000. More than $100,000 has been contributed by Enbridge to local nonprofits, including 2 check presentations that were made that day to Timberlake and Mariah volunteer fire departments. They will be purchasing about 16 million gallons of water from the city to test the fire suppression system in the tank, and that will bring more than $150,000 to the city for a one-time boost to the city's revenue. I attended a couple of chamber events the morning of the golf tournament and the business after hours at Hall's Way, which included 3 ribbon cuttings, Wine a Little, Otterson's Uptown Redux, and Common Threads Fabrics. We discussed earlier in the meeting the importance of our small businesses, so that was a great event highlighting several small businesses at once. We had the small business proclamation earlier, so let's all continue to remember to support local. We, as a board, adopted a purchasing policy last month for the county government to prioritize supporting local also. So I also want to take this opportunity to segue into pointing out that this is also Economic Development Week. I had thought that we were going to have a proclamation for that also, but since we didn't, I would like to read some of the important reasons to acknowledge and celebrate economic development. More than 100,000 economic development and related professionals worldwide are committed to creating, retaining, and expanding top-tier opportunities that foster long-term, equitable community growth. Economic development professionals operate across diverse environments, including rural, suburban, and urban communities, local, state, provincial, and national governments, public-private partnerships, chambers of commerce, institutions of higher education, and similar organizations and associations. Economic development professionals serve as stewards of progress, connecting residents, business leaders, elected officials, industry executives, educational institutions to advance job creation, community investment, infrastructure improvements, and long-term opportunity. Economic developers contribute to the continued strength and vitality of their communities, building on past achievements while shaping a resilient and prosperous future. It was also Public Service Recognition Week, and as a local government, I'm sure we don't want to overlook that. So I just wanted to highlight a few things that we appreciate about our public servants. This is to honor employees of federal, state, and local governments and members of the uniformed services who are entrusted with missions fundamental to the U.S. and to deliver services upon which Americans depend. Public servants make substantial contributions to the American economy, managing public lands, infrastructure, financial systems, research institutions, and regulatory frameworks that undergird private sector growth, protect consumers, and sustain the conditions for a competitive and innovative marketplace. Public servants are critical to protecting the safety and security of the American people working every day, often at great personal risk to prevent harm, respond to crises, and safeguard the lives and well-being of the communities they serve. Public service is a noble calling involving a variety of challenging and rewarding professions, and highly skilled and trained individuals offer their knowledge, effort, and expertise in support of the public good. So this is also important to think about when we discuss property tax and budgets. And there are lots of things in the spring of the year that are recognized, and especially the first week of March, but also, last but not least, it is County Clerk Week. And so I wanted to recognize our clerk, Michelle Solomon. We were sent something from Maria Haas, who is the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners in Cherokee County and president of the North Carolina Association of County Clerks. She says our clerk to the boards are not just historians and record keepers. They are the face of our county government, the liaison between us and our constituents and other county government agencies, and honestly, all things to all people you serve as elected officials. Clerks work quietly behind the scenes, doing the heavy lifting no one ever sees. In addition to general job duties, clerks to the boards run PR for your board, managing disgruntled citizens and or employees, and diffusing difficult situations. They maintain public trust in your board through their transparency and professionalism, and there's so much more that could be said about the clerks, but she says, I trust you already recognize your clerk's contributions, value, and worth, and we do. Tax reform. As the board appointee to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, I receive regular updates about proposed tax reform. There are several tax reform bills that are currently proposed within the General Assembly. From a local government standpoint, some are helpful and some are not. It's important to think through the implications for the things that are proposed. For example, if the one-year moratorium for certain counties is approved through Senate Bill 889, it would result in an estimated $10 million public service company revenue loss in fiscal year 26-27 for the counties affected collectively. So Person County is not a part of that because we are not doing a revow this year. But if this had happened to Person County, that would include lost tax revenue from our public utilities, including our top taxpayer, Duke Energy, which would have been around $3 million for Person County alone if we had been affected by the moratorium. So that's about 4 cents on the tax rate. We do still have the association following closely and advocating on behalf of counties. So I want to address some tax myths and misunderstandings. I've seen some citizens making comments on social media that would imply that property tax is an extra tax on your home if you have a mortgage, so that if you own your home outright, you should not have to pay property tax anymore. Another assumption is that property tax should be based on the price you pay for your home when you buy it, and it should never increase unless you sell it. But if you look at your property tax bill, it says at the top that it is ad valorem taxes. Ad valorem is Latin for according to value, and it is calculated based on fair market value and not a fixed value. The tax is incurred because when a property is located inside one or more jurisdictions, those jurisdictions must have funding to provide services that have been mandated by the federal and state government, such as public safety, social services, and schools. Beyond that, local citizens also ask for additional services like parks and libraries and zoning and economic development. Nobody anywhere is ever going to be excited about paying any kind of tax until they realize that without them, the built world around them that provides security and value for them in so many ways would disappear. And along those lines, I want to take a moment to address the last-minute motion made by Commissioner Long during our commissioner comments at our last meeting regarding the property tax exemption for those aged 65 and over. As a board, 4 of us were elected by the people, and Commissioner Long was appointed by this board. As the person who nominated him, I feel a responsibility to the public to speak thoughtfully about how we should conduct our work and how we should approach issues that matter deeply to our citizens. The idea of providing tax relief, particularly for seniors, is something this board has already demonstrated that we take seriously. Last March, prior to Commissioner Long's appointment, we adopted a resolution supporting House Bill 59, an act to extend the elderly or disabled property tax exclusion, and this is now being considered under House Bill 1181, which seeks to expand eligibility for property tax relief based on income for elderly and disabled residents. Currently, there are more than 1,100 households in Person County benefiting from this program, with an estimated impact to county revenue of approximately $550,000, including property tax and fire tax lost revenues. All the tax relief programs available to citizens are on the county tax website. When we took this action to support this relief, we understood that having that increase approved would likely double the number of eligible households. That discussion took place as part of our broader budget process, where we could fully consider the financial implications, equity among taxpayers, and long-term effects on our community. My concern with what occurred at the last meeting is not the topic itself, but the process. Topics that carry such significant financial and policy implications deserve more consideration. There were several constructive ways the conversation could have been introduced. The county attorney could have been asked if the legality of a local exemption based on purely on age was legal. The manager could have been asked if there was a way to track the fiscal impact, and if so, what that would be. It could have been placed on the agenda for discussion. The board could have been asked if we wish to have that discussion so we could consider unintended consequences, such as how much that exemption would affect the county's revenue. How would that affect other taxpayers in other seasons of life who also experience financial burdens? I think Commissioner Long may be over 65. I'm not there yet. But if I were over 65 and able to comfortably afford my property tax, I would not want mine to be exempt if it meant passing the cost along to younger families or struggling small businesses to pay more. Some of our wealthiest citizens would also fall into that age group. What would this mean for our efforts to combat an aging workforce if Person County adopted a practice that was different from every other county in the state and the neighboring counties in Virginia? In other words, would a broad exemption for everyone over 65 incentivize others in that age group to move here? And what would be the implications of that if it did? Would property owners seeking to avoid property taxes miss out on other estate planning benefits, such as avoiding certain types of liens against their property? So my hope and my expectation is that we approach issues like this in a way that builds public trust and not erodes it, in a way that provides clarity rather than encourages confusion or misconceptions. We should not use these seats to dangle carrots in front of people for political purposes that we know will need to be pulled back in practice. That approach ultimately does a disservice to the very people that we aim to help. I continue to say that the best way to reduce the individual taxpayer's burden is to continue to increase our industrial tax base, and I'll continue to expound on that during my comments at every meeting for as long as necessary. And along those lines, I'd like to address some of the things about the Microsoft questions as well. So when the manager says we are working with Microsoft, she means the staff. The commissioners don't have any communication from Microsoft. I have been in 2 meetings with them where they told us the first time months ago they didn't know their plans yet, and the second time they told us exactly what was in the press release and no more. As far as the water use, I believe they have shared some things with the city of Roxborough, and the city of Roxborough attorney is here, and he can tell you how desperately they desire to sell water and need to sell water. The city manager brings that up in our EDC meetings on a regular basis. He shared in the last EDC meeting that we could experience another year of drought and they would still be fine on their water supply. The city used to supply water for Collins and Aikman, who did all their processes here and had over 3,500 employees, as well as Capital Power, and I think they used like 800,000 gallons a day. Since they shut down, they have not been able to replace those customers, and they would love to be able to have the use. So that is not an issue. As far as the NDA, I'm not under one, and I don't know anything about one being released. But I think, for Person County, without an interstate, without industrial sites, we have lots of power and we have lots of water, And this is an ideal industry for us to be able to increase our tax base, and a great way for our citizens to fund some of these things, not have to cut what the school is asking for every year, year after year. And I don't know, we have to understand how things work and balance that approach, and not oppose any kind of development, not want to pay taxes, and want to see more services. That's all.
Commissioner Thomas.
I just want to thank everyone for coming today. Kim, thank you for all your hard work with the Civics Academy. It's paying off, and just shows that you're doing a great job just by the size of your class. Like I said earlier, our youth are struggling right now. We've lost 3 lives in the last maybe say 2 to 3 weeks. That's a lot to lose young lives like that in horrible automobile accidents. So keep your young ones in your prayers, and just keep everyone in your thoughts and prayers.
Mr. Royster.
Yes, from what Commissioner Thomas said, just continue to pray for our community and our young people. May happens to be Mental Health Awareness Month. And in doing that, not only the community thinking about, how you're going to take care of yourselves mentally, especially with our children, with the tragedies that have occurred, but also those of us who serve this community. If we can't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of the community. So I want everyone to make sure you're taking care of yourselves. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. So making sure you do that. I also attended the ribbon cutting on April 30th with the Chamber at Hall's Way, and it was really exciting that we had these 3 businesses come together to do their ribbon cutting. And one thing I said to all of them was, you could have taken your businesses anywhere else, but you chose to invest in Person County, you chose to keep it here, you chose to serve this community, and the best way to give back is for us to support these small businesses. And I know we have a few small business owners in this room right now, so we need to support home. And then lastly, I had learned about a new resource. It's not a new resource. I found out they've been here a year, and it's called Healthy Families for Durham and Person Counties. It's through Duke University. And they are helping mothers who are in their 3rd trimesters and children up to 3 months old. They can enroll for free services. They offer diapers. They offer other resources to these young families. And it's totally voluntary. And the families can work with them for up to 3 years. So once the child turns 3, they let them go. So from the 3rd trimester to 3 months, they can enroll. Anybody can make a referral. They're going to start reaching out to our health department and our local pediatricians, but they are serving Durham and Person, and they only have 1 family here in Person, and they want to grow. Their enrollment here in this county is totally free, totally voluntary, and they are looking forward to working with us here in this community to serve our young families.
Commissioner Long.
Mr. Chairman, I attended the Person County EMS Peer Review Committee for the first quarter of 2026, and discussion was very informative. The Mayo Lake Group and the Duke Energy Group had their 2nd meeting, including a boat tour of Mayo Lake to review floating dock pontoons and to observe the shoreline vegetative violations. Dr. Phillips reported the meeting was very productive, and 2 additional meetings have been scheduled for the month of May. I attended the tour of the Mariah Energy Center last Thursday also, and the project is very impressive. I understand they have about 200 people working per day on that project. Emergency management, in that peer discussion, they did make note that they are 4 positions short right now that aren't filled. and that they are expecting 5 resignations in the coming months due to employees going to med school, moving, or other educational opportunities or job opportunities. So we've got some really strong issues coming up with EMS that they're gonna need some help with. And I'd like to address, what Commissioner Wilburn said about the 65-year-old tax issue from the last meeting. I knew the answer to the question, but I'm trying to get some discussion going about cutting expenses. I've been asking for a framework to cut expenses since September. I asked again in January, I asked again in March. And I'm trying to get some discussion going before we get into this budget. We just heard tonight in 2 weeks, we're gonna have the budget presented to us, and it's expected a couple of weeks after that to be adopted. And we haven't looked at anything on the line items, and we've gotta cut expenses. That's all I'm saying. But I do appreciate your comments.
Well, you
And
made a
no-
motion to do a broad stroke tax exemption, and if that motion had been allowed to stand and passed, that would have been a mess. So that's not the way to get discussion
Vice
going.
Chair,
I'm okay. I'm
Vice
okay
Chair.
with it. Thank you.
Commissioner, this is comments, not dialogue between county commissioners. We can
I
allow that
understand.
for
Okay,
future
thank you.
meeting, doing an agenda item. All right. Commissioner Long, you done with your comments?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting's been adjourned.